Welcome to Shared Lunch, brought to you by Sharesies with BusinessDesk. My name's Frances Cook. I'm the investments editor at BusinessDesk. Now, we do have a great BusinessDesk special for listeners and viewers. You can find out about it at the end of this episode. But before we get started, here's some important information. Investing involves risk. You might lose the money you start with. We recommend talking to a licensed financial advisor. We also recommend reading product disclosure documents before deciding to invest. Everything you're about to see and hear is current at the time of recording. All right, today on Shared Lunch, we're doing something a little different. This episode is an opportunity for you to get to know 3 smaller cap companies that are from a range of new and innovative industries, a bit like speed dating. You'll get to hear from each company, see what you like about them, and they'll get 10 minutes to talk about what they do, their milestones, their challenges, and what the future holds. So, first up, we're talking to Asantha Wijeyeratne, CEO and co-founder of PaySauce. Welcome, Asantha.
Thank you, Frances. Glad to be here.
Yeah, lovely to have you in today. Can you give us a short description of what your company does and the sort of benefits or the problem that you're solving for customers?
Sure. PaySauce essentially is a payroll platform, and we are targeted towards the small business end. Nobody goes into business to do payroll. It's a compliance burden that comes with being in business. And our mission is to take out a lot of the friction that currently exists in that process. It is not the easiest of things. You have a compliance burden. Paying people on time and correctly is an important responsibility. You imagine a small business that misses payroll or gets it wrong. The consequences are significant. So our whole reason for being is to take out the friction that exists in that process and to make it as simple as possible for the business owner.
I've got to say, I think you're spot on there with nobody gets into business to do payroll. There are certain things that are always admin, and payroll is one of them. So what about you as the CEO? What's your background? How long have you been with PaySauce, and why be with them?
Cool. I'm one of the founders of the business. So we are now in our 8th year. This is not my first rodeo. I was also the founder of the company called Smart Payroll, which is now called Smartly. So I'm one of the old men of payroll now. And my background is accounting, and that's where I've come to it. And I've spent the majority of my career working in the area of how can we make the life of a small business owner easier. So it's something that that has become my passion and that has driven the creation of these 2 businesses.
Yeah, you mentioned there about small businesses. You do work a lot with small to medium businesses, which unfortunately, as we head towards likely recession, it's not confirmed yet, but it's kind of looking all but confirmed. A lot of these small to medium businesses will be having a tough time at the moment. Does that make your business more difficult?
Look, it's a really interesting time. It is a challenging time, without doubt, because it is a lot to do with sentiment and how people are feeling. And from a business point of view, this is a time where we see traditionally post or going into a recession, people are looking at reducing costs or becoming more efficient. So they look to systems and processes to do that. So if someone is doing the payroll themselves or outsourcing that, they'll be looking to cut costs. And so then we become an opportunity for us to provide our solution at an affordable price for that business owner. So if you look at the last couple of recessions we've had, what happens is people who are let go, redundant, what happens to them is they don't fall off the face of the earth. They go back and think, what do they want to do? And they then become the green shoots coming out of that time. They set up businesses, and that's where you've seen a significant growth in businesses, say 2010, post the 2009 financial crisis. There was a significant uptick in the number of businesses that were set up by the people who might have been working for someone before, will go out and set up their own business. So if you look at Xero, some of the strongest growth came post 2009. They were born in that time. So we believe that there's no reason why that trend won't continue. So while we will see business growth increasing in the small end, once we get past the eye of the storm, whenever that will be, but we acknowledge that it's a tough time for our clients. They are looking at costs, they're looking at how can they be more efficient, and our mission is how do we support them through this period.
And am I right that you've been eyeing up the dairying and the rural sector quite a bit recently? Tell me a bit about what that strategy is about.
Sure. We've done more than IUP. Currently, we provide the payroll solution for well over 50% of dairy farms that employ. That was a deliberate strategy that we embarked on, because we found that dairy farmers in particular were not being served by the existing providers. We solved some business issues that were specific to that industry. And as a result, we've seen the take-up of our solution increase year after year. And that's always been our strategy, is to identify a market segment that is poorly served, that is got a business-related problem around payroll, and provide a solution that then takes that problem away. Essentially, we smuggle payroll in by solving a business problem for that business owner. And that success in farming has seen us grow in the rural areas of New Zealand very strongly. So we're very proud of the fact that we've got more customers in Invercargill, and they're not all farming, than we have in Auckland. And that's a really good outcome for us.
Yeah, good on Invercargill. I love that. All right. So what about the future? I mean, what are the continued growth opportunities for your business? Do you have a 5-year plan?
Yes, we certainly do, and we've made no secret of it. So we've spent the last 2 or 3 years working through scaling up the business. So our numbers to 31st December, we are on track to $6.7 million of ARR. And that's again, we've kept growing this business, but the real market for us exists outside New Zealand. We've proven the model. New Zealand's one of the toughest markets to compete in the payroll space. And for some strange reason, we lead the world in a lot of the payroll tech that we compete. I had to compete much harder in a smaller market than in some of the larger markets that we've identified. So for us, the 5-year plan is for us to become the dominant payroll provider for the small and micro end of town globally. That's been our ambition. From the day we set up, we said that we see the opportunity for us as a global opportunity, not a New Zealand play or a regional play, but a truly global opportunity. Because if you look at the trend of small businesses, it is the area that is growing the strongest and fastest. Technology enables a group of 3 individuals to get together and start a business in the Philippines, providing a service to the North American market. All of these things have been possible because of tech. The size of the business unit has got smaller with time, and technology has enabled that. Who's going to do their payroll? And we want to be the provider of payroll to that market segment. And so for us, in 5 years' time, we'd like to be, and that's our ambition, to be the payroll provider of choice to the micro small end of the business market.
Love that. All right. Well, just finally, do you have one thing or one sentence that you'd like to say to retail investors?
Look, it's for us, it's a long game, and be patient. Judge us from the results that we've delivered. We've been extraordinarily transparent in what we're doing as a business. We really treasure the support that we have from our retail investors, because our shareholder base is all retail. There is no institutional representation in that. So those are the people who supported us. and they've seen us and supported us on this journey. Don't judge us on a quarter or on a half year. Judge us over a long period of time is the request that I make, because we are after a massive opportunity. This is not about, what I can do in 6 months. This is about taking a New Zealand business and creating creating a global brand and a global business that serves that small business community. And you can't achieve that overnight.
Thank you so much. That's Asantha Wijeyeratne, CEO and co-founder of PaySauce. Next up on Shared Lunch's Speed Dating, we're talking with Greg Balla, CEO of AoFrio. Welcome, Greg.
Well, thank you, Francis. It's great to be here.
Yeah, it's great to have you. Give me a short description of what your company does and the benefit or the problem you're trying to solve for customers.
Yeah. AoFrio is a global refrigeration technology business. We're a New Zealand company. We help our customers provide food that is fresh, safe, and at the right temperature at the point of sale. So if you think about corner dairy with all the rows of refrigerators, or your supermarkets or restaurants, they will have multiple refrigeration units. Our technology is in those refrigeration units all around the world. Now, the problem we're trying to solve for our customers is a few main problems, but really what we're trying to do is help them reduce their energy or become more sustainable. So our technology significantly helps with that. But we also provide data and information that help them manage their fleet overall. Is it at the right temperature? Is it on or off? Is it going to break down? So we have analytics that helps them monitor the performance of their refrigeration units. Some of our customers have 500,000 units, so they have lots of refrigeration units. So to be able to help them manage their costs and their energy of these refrigeration units is hugely valuable to them.
What about yourself? What's your background and when did you come to the company? Why come to this company?
Yeah, so for most of my career, I've been working for technology companies. So technology companies are my passion, I guess, if you like. The first major company I worked for was 3M, which is a huge multinational organization. It's well recognized for its innovation culture. And I got to work in many different regions across different business units and different functions. So it was a real foundational kind of organization for me. More recently, I worked for a New Zealand technology company, Orion Health, which provides SaaS-based software solutions for healthcare. And that was where I really got a taste for working for a New Zealand company taking on the world. And but both of these companies, I guess, were companies that either from a culture or from their mission were about doing good. And so that was one of the things that really appealed about AoFrio and why I joined, is because we have a significant impact on the amount of energy the commercial refrigeration industry uses. And so to be part of a New Zealand technology company with a really valuable value proposition made it a really exciting company to join. We're a relatively small company. We're about 120 people globally, but we've got some super exciting technology having a real impact. We have about 1.5 million refrigeration units connected to our cloud platform, and there's millions more to connect. And that's kind of what we're about, is connecting refrigeration units so we can deliver that sustainable benefit for our customers.
It strikes me there in what you're saying that there's a couple of things that your business could be leveraging off. I mean, for one thing, saving on the bottom line, always important to companies. But for another, we're seeing climate change reporting standards coming in New Zealand soon. A lot of other jurisdictions are also bringing in things like that. Is that something that you are pitching yourself to companies, that you can help them hit some of those climate change targets?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Our refrigeration control system, if you like, compared to the standard kind of thing, is 30 to 40% more efficient. So it's hugely more efficient. And commercial refrigeration globally is a big consumer of electricity. And so to be able to help our customers reduce their energy consumption and by not only the technology, but the way we manage their fleet is hugely important. And so our customers really like that part of the value proposition, but they really like the other things that we do around helping them just understand the maintenance and the making sure their units are working and their food and products are safe. So, there's the food waste element to it and the safety element that's also important.
I'll bet. Now, you've been, I think, admirably open about some of the challenges your company has faced recently. Supply chain disruptions had quite a significant impact on your full year results. You've also flagged the global economic pressures that a lot of companies are facing, but things like the rising interest rates as a possible future pressure. So, how are these things currently impacting your business, and what are you trying to do to reduce the damage?
So yes, so certainly through last year, the supply chain disruptions were huge for anyone that was in the electronic industry, but not only electronics, but certainly for us, it was significant. So, what we did through last year, our teams did a fantastic job. We had to basically redesign uh, all our major products so that we could take multiple components rather than the components that we had originally designed in. So I guess we enhanced the flexibility to give us options to be able to navigate that. But it was a big job because we have to change the hardware, so the electronics. We have to change the firmware, which is like the operating system for that technology, and the software solutions so that it all works together with these different variants. So in some cases where we had one product variant, we now have six, just with the different combinations that we have. So, we spent a lot of time getting that right. The other thing that we've done, I guess, more future, a bit of future proofing for us is, we've increased the amount of components inventory we hold. We don't want to do that long term, but certainly short term, that's something that's been really important to us. And probably the last thing, we've kind of got a plan that is really responsive, we think, to the market. So we can dial things up and down quite comfortably now as the market ebbs and flows a little bit with some of the global uncertainty. So I think we've built flexibility into our organisation, the way we work, to address some of those things. I'm sure there's still going to be some interesting things happen through the year, but like I say, the flexibility and the both from a product perspective and from an organisation perspective that we've built position us really well to respond to it.
Okay, what about growth opportunities for your business? And do you have a 5-year plan? What's in it?
Yeah, so of course, our our original business was these high efficiency electronically controlled motors, but that now is actually only 50% of our business. The other 50% is what we call our IoT business. So that's getting the information from the refrigerator unit to the cloud and helping people manage their refrigerator. So that's our solution, and that's really where we see the big growth opportunity for us. Our initial solution was for, bottle coolers, so things that have drinks in it. But we're now extending the solution to ice cream refrigerators. So again, you'll have seen those in your corner dairy. There's rows of these refrigerators. And so the customers are really asking us to say, can you help us ensure that we know that our refrigerator is on, that it's on at the right temperature, and that we're using the least amount of energy to manage it as possible. And they're things that we can do for one type of refrigerator. So we're transferring that technology over to the ice cream market. And that's a huge market globally, relatively untapped from this type of solution. So we're super excited about that over the next few years for sure. Now, the other thing that we've started working with a few global customers on a food safety solution for their refrigerated units. In a lot of jurisdictions, our customers have to write down the temperature of their refrigerator every hour to meet food compliance requirements to make sure their refrigerators are at the right temperature. But those people also have hot things as well, where they have to do the same thing for their heating units and so on. So the food services opportunity is the other area that we're now working with 3 pilot customers on to develop the solution that allows them to manage these food safety requirements, making sure their refrigerator's on, it's at the right temperature, and it's recording the information they need to be able to do their compliance reporting. So it's a huge industry, far bigger industry than the ones that we currently play in. So we're really excited about those two things taking us forward. So Yeah, they're the main things that we're focused on at the moment, extending that IoT range. So at the end, we have millions more refrigerators or devices connected to our cloud platform, providing those insights around sustainability and food safety for our customers.
So interesting because it's such an important area, but it's not necessarily the most glamorous, which I feel like makes it a bit of an untapped business opportunity. I mean, obviously, we're talking to retail investors here. So, just to finish up with, is there one thing or even one sentence that you would like to say to those retail investors?
Yeah, look, I think, people, our retail investors interact with our technology every day. They probably don't know it. And we have a huge impact on reducing or making these refrigeration units more sustainable. And we'd like as many retail investors to come on that journey with us and help the world be a better place by saving energy, I guess is our key line.
Fabulous. Well, thank you so much. That's Greg Balla, CEO of AoFrio. And finally, today, we're joined by Dr. Beata Edling, who is the CEO of TruScreen. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Francis, for having me. I'm delighted to be here.
Oh, delighted to have you. Can you give us a short description of what your company does and what is the benefit or the problem that you're trying to solve for customers?
Certainly. Well, thanks for this question. TruScreen is a global company, which is New Zealand Stock Exchange listed and ASX listed. And we are a proud manufacturer of world-leading optoelectrical technology, medical device for cervical cancer screening. We are an innovator and disruptor, and we provide a solution to regions and countries that do need to accelerate the cervical cancer screening. Cervical cancer is a huge problem and a huge cancer burden around the world, particularly in the regions where governments and decision makers cannot afford a proper cervical cancer screening, like in some jurisdictions, for example, in New Zealand and Australia. It is a huge problem and it causes a grave mortality around the world. For example, 600,000 women a year are identified suffering from cervical cancer. I am very privileged to be part of TruScreen for the fact that we provide the solution, but also what I would like the listeners to know is that our timing is absolutely perfect. In 2019, WHO has put out a global strategy for cervical cancer to be the first ever cancer in humanity to be eradicated by the end of the century. A huge proportion of the global effort is screening, and TruScreen, my device, is providing an innovative, disruptive, accelerating solution to those regions that want to leapfrog and do the screening better.
And tell me a bit more about yourself as well, because you are the first CEO, I must say, that we've introduced in this episode as a doctor. So what is your background? How long have you been with the company? And why have you come to this company specifically?
Thank you, Francis. I love that question. Well, I am a doctor. My first profession was medicine, and I was a practicing surgeon. Last 15, a bit longer than that now, years, I've spent in biotechnology, pharmaceutical, and medical devices industries, rising to an executive. And I'm also a woman, of course. So why am I at TruScreen? I guess this is perhaps self-explanatory by now, right? It is a rare opportunity and a privilege to be driving a global organization that is devoted to eradicating cancer. I couldn't have asked for a better company to lead. So that's why I'm at TruScreen.
If we look at the business, because a lot of our investors will be looking at the business side of things and trying to figure out if this is a good one for them. And of course, the full year result for 2022 was a loss, I believe 7.9 million. So walk me through what caused that. And are you expecting that again in the next round of results?
Good question. However, if one invests in a medical device, disruptive technology, or in any biotechnology, that particularly disruptive one, right? you expect losses up front, right, for some years until you break even. And our journey is no different to anyone else that does that, right? Every biotechnology startup will, particularly when it goes through clinical development phase, basically has to face it and go through it. It's there is even a name for it, right? Crossing the valley of death, before you actually come out to a break-even point. We have actually done not badly through COVID times, and I can tell you that our losses will be less. I won't put a figure right now in this podcast because we're crunching numbers. It's our end of financial year 2023. We'll have the numbers ready by the end of this month. However, our losses will be less and we'll continue losing less and less. And I'm proud to say that we anticipate break-even point in 2025 financial year. So if that answers the question, I hope it does to some extent, but it's not something that's unique to TruScreen. It is a normal part of the journey for every biotechnology startup, but also particularly when you have developmental phase and you're disrupting.
And 2025, that's not too far off. I've got to say, you mentioned COVID impacts there, and you're currently targeting product sales to a range of low, middle income countries. A few that have been mentioned: China, Mexico, Vietnam, Russia, Saudi Arabia, places where there are no large scale cervical cancer screening programs or the infrastructure in place. So, having that sort of international focus, has that given you a bit more exposure to COVID impacts and things like supply chain issues?
Very good question. Thank you. Actually, the answer, maybe surprisingly, is no. In fact, some of the jurisdictions actually cushioned, if you like, journey throughout COVID times, right? And I can give one example of how wise were the choices we made, and I believe we will continue in going to the regions which do really want to leapfrog and grow the ability to screen properly. For example, in Africa, COVID wasn't such a massive issue as in some other regions, in other continents. And in Zimbabwe, we focused on driving our pilot screening program in collaboration with National AIDS Council. And at the end of December, we screened 10,500 women in collaboration with the NAC. If we haven't had done that throughout COVID, we wouldn't have been able to advance collaboration this year, right? So if there is one lesson from our journey, is that you do not stop throughout COVID. You overcome your obstacles. You go where you need it, where you want it, where you're welcomed. You make things work while you're being challenged on the other fronts, and you actually come out ready to take off. And you might want to ask me, well, one of your biggest markets is China, right? And China did close for COVID. That was quite drastic. Yes, but they are now experiencing a rebound. And so our Chinese distributor is quite hopeful of advancing their operations this year.
On that point, growth opportunities. Where do you see the business heading? And do you have a 5-year plan? What's in it?
Yes, disruptive companies perhaps should think in a shorter terms than 5 years because of the, if you like, the curve of advancement, our life cycle stage, right? So our strategy that we've just finalized is covering us for next 2 years, financial 2 years. And of course, we have thoughts about where we want to be in 5 years' time, and we have ambitious aims, and I certainly do as well. However, it's much prudent to focus on the next 2 years or so, particularly that there is such great uncertainty in the world right now. And what we will continue doing, but also advance, is the following. First of all, we'll continue focusing and bringing selling results and performance results from established countries in which we are present already. And as you've alluded to, the post-COVID recovery is something that will enhance our performance. That's what I believe will happen. The second thing that we will do is we will focus on providing a solution in collaboration with different providers of care. For example, in Africa, the so-called identify, screen, and treat is a very a paradigm that's finally being implemented after years and years of talking. We will become a partner in these discussions, and we will talk with decision makers in provision of centralized healthcare solutions using our economic impact data, right? I mentioned previously, for example, the pilot in Zimbabwe, how that enhances our ability to have an economic conversation with decision makers about the impact we'll make on the economy. When the women get screened and they don't get sick and they don't go to a hospital to be treated, but actually remain in a workforce, right? So that's part of our strategy. And overall, we, as I mentioned before, this and other, I'm mindful of a time frame in which I need to speak, there's and other initiatives and programs that we will be driving through strategic directions in the next 2 years will see us breaking even. We also are looking for partners outside of TruScreen to partner, acquire, or merge with, organization to merge with to enhance our ability to thrive, right? So that's also something that's on the cards for us over the next 2 years.
Sounds like exciting times ahead. All right. Well, is there one thing, or even if you can, one sentence that you'd like to say to the retail investors listening in?
Thank you. Of course, I would say a lot of things, but one thing that I perhaps would like to leave your listeners with is thank you if you consider TruScreen. And there comes a time in our lives when we make choices, including financial choices. I wish you feel the way that the solar batteries investors are feeling these days, right? I wish you this feeling in a few years' time when you have backed up a technology that revolutionizes cervical cancer screening around the world. Thank you.
And there we go. That's Dr. Beata Edling, CEO of TruScreen. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thanks for the opportunity. Great to be here.
And thanks for tuning in, everyone who had a listen. Some great insights today. Now, before you go, we do have a special offer for Sharesies investors from BusinessDesk. If you use the promo code SharedLunch2023, or one word, SharedLunch2023, you'll get $100 off an annual subscription to BusinessDesk, which is usually $249, including GST. The offer only applies to new BusinessDesk subscribers, can only be used once per subscriber, can't be used with any other discounts. Enjoy the rest of your week. Do stay safe.